The Middle East stands on a knife's edge, the air thick with tension. Iran, long a vocal adversary of Israel, has increased its rhetoric, threatening severe consequences for any perceived aggression. This has put the United States, a staunch ally of Israel, in a precarious position. The US has responded to Iran's threats with a show of force, aiming to deter any rash actions. The situation is volatile, with both sides deeply suspicious of the other. Iran views Israel as an existential threat, accusing it of undermining its interest in the region. Israel, in turn, sees Iran's nuclear ambitions and support for militant groups like Hamas and Hezbollah as a direct threat to its security. The US, caught in the middle, is walking a tightrope. On the one hand, it is committed to defending Israel from any attack. On the other hand, it is wary of getting dragged into another costly and protracted conflict in the Middle East. The situation is a powder keg, and a single spark could ignite a regional conflagration. The US response to Iran's threats has been two-pronged. First, it has engaged in intense diplomatic efforts, urging both sides to exercise restraint and de-escalate the situation. Second, it has bolstered its military presence in the region, sending a clear message of deterrence to Iran. The coming days and weeks will be crucial in determining whether diplomacy or military force will define the next chapter in this long-standing conflict. The already tense situation between Iran and Israel was further inflamed by a recent attack on Israel by Hamas, the Palestinian militant group that controls the Gaza Strip. Hamas, which has close ties to Iran, launched a barrage of rockets into Israel, prompting a swift and forceful response from the Israeli military. The Hamas attack, widely seen as a proxy war instigated by Iran, has put Israel in a difficult position. Israel is determined to defend itself against what it perceives as an act of war. However, it is also aware that a full-scale conflict with Hamas could easily escalate into a wider regional war involving Iran. The attack has also complicated the US's efforts to de-escalate the situation. The US has condemned the Hamas attack and reaffirmed its unwavering support for Israel's right to defend itself. However, it has also urged Israel to exercise restraint and avoid actions that could further escalate the conflict. The situation remains extremely volatile. Israel has vowed to continue its military operations against Hamas until it eliminates the threat of rocket fire. Hamas, meanwhile, has vowed to continue its resistance against Israel. The risk of a miscalculation or an unintended escalation is high, and the international community is watching with bated breath. In a move that sent shockwaves through the region, Israel carried out a series of targeted assassinations, eliminating key figures in both Hamas and Hezbollah. The most high-profile target was Ismail Haniyeh, the political leader of Hamas, who was killed in an airstrike on his hideout in Iran. Israel also targeted Fuad Shukr, a senior commander in Hezbollah, the Lebanese militant group backed by Iran. Shukr was killed in a drone strike in Lebanon. These assassinations, while strategically significant, have further inflamed tensions and raised fears of a wider conflict. Israel has not officially claimed responsibility for the assassinations. However, the attacks bear all the hallmarks of Israeli operations, known for their precision and intelligence gathering. The message from these targeted killings is clear. Israel will not hesitate to strike at its enemies, even beyond its borders. The assassinations have drawn mixed reactions from the international community. Some countries have condemned the killings, calling them extrajudicial and counterproductive. Others have expressed understanding for Israel's right to defend itself against those who seek its destruction. The killings have undoubtedly raised the stakes in the region and made the path to a peaceful resolution even more challenging. In a clear demonstration of support for Israel and a warning to Iran, the United States has significantly increased its military presence in the Middle East. The US has deployed an aircraft carrier strike group led by the USS Gerald R. Ford to the eastern Mediterranean Sea. This formidable naval force is accompanied by a squadron of F-35 fighter jets capable of carrying out both conventional and nuclear strikes. In addition to the aircraft carrier group, the US has also deployed B-52 bombers to a nearby airbase. These long-range bombers are capable of striking targets deep inside Iran, sending a clear message of deterrence to Tehran. The US has also bolstered its missile defense systems in the region, preparing for the possibility of Iranian retaliation. The deployment of such a significant military force is a clear indication of the seriousness with which the US views the current situation. It is a message to Iran that any attack on Israel or US interests in the region will be met with swift and overwhelming force. However, this show of force also carries risks, as it could be misconstrued by Iran as a provocation, further escalating the situation. The US has stressed that its military deployment is a precautionary measure and that it remains committed to a diplomatic solution. However, the presence of such a formidable military force in the region is a stark reminder of the potential for conflict and the high stakes involved. The escalating tensions in the Middle East have sent shockwaves across the globe, prompting urgent calls for restraint and diplomacy from the international community. The United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting to discuss the situation, with many member states expressing deep concern over the potential for a wider conflict. The European Union issued a statement calling on all sides to exercise maximum restraint and to refrain from any actions that could further escalate the situation. The EU also stressed the importance of upholding international law and respecting the territorial integrity of all countries in the region. Russia and China, both permanent members of the UN Security Council, have also expressed concern over the situation and called for dialogue and diplomacy. However, they have also criticized the US for its military buildup in the region, arguing that it could further inflame tensions. The international community is united in its desire to prevent a wider war in the Middle East. However, there is no easy solution to the complex web of conflicts and rivalries in the region. The coming days and weeks will be crucial in determining whether diplomacy can prevail or whether the region will once again be engulfed in conflict. The Middle East stands at a crossroads, facing a choice between two starkly different paths. One path leads to de-escalation, dialogue, and a fragile peace. The other descends into a spiral of violence, potentially engulfing the region in a devastating war with global consequences. The assassination of key figures, the deployment of US military assets, and the inflammatory rhetoric from all sides have brought the region perilously close to the brink. The situation remains volatile, and the risk of miscalculation or unintended escalation is high. However, amidst the tension and uncertainty, glimmers of hope for a peaceful resolution still flicker. The international community's unified call for restraint, coupled with ongoing diplomatic efforts, offers a potential off-ramp from the current crisis. The path to peace is fraught with obstacles. Deep-seated mistrust, historical grievances, and conflicting interests present formidable challenges, yet the alternative, a wider war with potentially catastrophic consequences, is unthinkable. The coming days and weeks will be critical. Will cooler heads prevail, paving the way for dialogue and de-escalation? Or will the region succumb to the pull of violence, plunging it into yet another cycle of conflict and suffering? The answer to this question will have profound implications, not only for the Middle East, but for the entire world.